Matthew Bell with Alzheimer'sProof.com, and today I wanted to continue a series that I've been doing on making changes to the home environment to help to make it more Alzheimer's proof. And by that, in this context, of course, I mean to make the home environment a little bit safer and more secure for the person that you are trying to be a caretaker for. Now, caveat to get out of the way right from the beginning, none of these tips is designed to make the environment completely foolproof. So all of these are simply designed to function as deterrents or as helps to the primary caretaker. They're designed to buy time for the caretaker. So for example, if you are watching your loved one and you have to run and use the bathroom real quick, your loved one could get into some kind of mischief even if you have given them a CD to listen to or you've given them a puzzle to do. You know, my dad would often get up from where he was given some kind of an activity. He'd often get up and then he would wander away, and literally it's like watching over a child in many respects. So you have to be on your toes. You're going to have to answer the door, you're going to have to answer the telephone, you're going to have to go to the bathroom, you're going to have to divert your attention, and that's when something can happen. So these tips, these helps are simply designed to raise the probability that nothing is going to happen while you have to step away. Now, today, in many respects, and I've gone over this before, I have an entire article on this, but in many respects, Alzheimer's proofing a house is going to be very similar to child proofing or to baby proofing the house. And in some cases, the interventions are going to be exactly the same. One example of that is these outlet covers. So these outlet covers, which you can buy, and they're packaged for use with infants and small babies, these outlet covers are designed to prevent small fingers from going into outlets and other things like that. But they can also be effective at helping to prevent an cognitively impaired adult from plugging an electrical device into a socket or from hurting themselves in a similar way as a child. Now, I'm not saying that the cognitively impaired adult's fingers are going to be the same size as that they're going to make their way into an outlet. I suppose they could. But the real issue is simply, again, trying to secure the environment in such a way as to make it conducive to a care environment. In many respects, to care for somebody in their house is going to require, or in your house, is going to require that you turn the environment almost into a care facility. You're going to have to turn it into a care facility. And of course, the normal house environment is simply not designed for that purpose. It's designed to be lived in by normal, cognitively functioning human beings. And when you have to take care of a small child, you have to change the environment in such a way as to make that environment safer. And much the same kind of reasoning applies when you have to watch over a cognitively impaired loved one, somebody who may have Alzheimer's, dementia, or some other kind of cognitive impairment. So today, what I'm going to get into is the danger that's posed by a bookshelf that is not properly secured to the wall. I have other bookshelves that are, let's say, the one standard height that I've seen is about 6 feet tall, but it's just difficult to kind of get the camera there. So I have selected a bookshelf that may not be the size that you might be dealing with in your house, but the only additional piece of equipment you would need would be some kind of stepping stool or ladder. One danger is that the person who's afflicted with some cognitive impairment could actually, and I'm going to try and do this without tipping everything off, but this bookshelf will swing freely. It moves. And so if the cognitively impaired individual accidentally or intentionally pulls it forward, then they can hurt themselves. Now, one reason for this is not so much the same as with a child. So with a small child, the danger is that they might try and climb on the furniture, that they might reach up and in trying to climb on it, their weight would be enough to pull the bookshelf off of its center of gravity, tip it on them, and then the young child could be easily killed or badly injured at the very least. Now, when it comes to a normal functioning adult, a bookshelf falling on them could cause some damage, but perhaps it's less likely to kill them. I mean, obviously, anything can happen. But at the same time, with an older adult, they might have more brittle bones. They might be suffering from some condition like osteoporosis that might make it more likely that they could be more severely injured. But one of the real dangers, and I know this from observing my dad, is balance. So it's not so much, in my opinion, and at least with the limited experience that I had, it's not so much that my dad would go around and attempt to climb on the furniture. That wasn't the issue. But the issue was that if he stumbled, or if he tried to catch his balance and simply didn't get a good hold, that he might then, his weight and his grip might then pull a piece of furniture over onto himself or onto somebody else, causing injury or causing damage. So one thing that you can do is to try and secure some of these to the wall a little bit. What I'm going to use for this installation here is simply a set of corner braces. You could really use any number of different things, but I'm going to open these corner braces here. This is a brand, Everbuilt. Just obtain this at a local hardware store. To open the package, I'm just going to kind of press the corner braces into the plastic and use the metal of the brace to pop the package open. And when you can then observe that the corner braces essentially look like this, they're 90-degree bends. You can see how we'd be able to screw in. And all I'm going to do with these corner braces essentially is going to be to place them on top, where I'm going to screw something into the wood on the top of the bookshelf, and then I'm going to screw something else into the wall. Okay. What we're going to need for this installation is a couple of things. Firstly, we're going to need some kind of a drill. Now, the drill that I've got right here, number one, has got a Phillips bit inside of it, but if I remove the Phillips bit, then it can accommodate a drill bit. And one of the other things that we need is some kind of a package of wall anchors. Now, do you need the wall anchor? It depends is the answer. You can try and find the location of a stud in the wall. And for that, you might use some kind of a stud detector. And when you have the stud detector, if you can locate the location of the stud behind the wall, then you can screw the screw directly into the stud and expect that it's going to hold fairly well. Now, if you don't find a stud, then you're going to need to use some kind of a wall anchor. You have to select the appropriate wall anchor for the wall material that's in your house. So what I've got here is a drywall anchor because I'm dealing with drywall. If you have plaster, then all bets are off. You can't use this technique if you have plaster wall or brick wall or something else. But this is going to work if you have drywall. You can include things like the stud detector. Of course, I have a drill bit kit in case I need it, and it comes with various size drill bits. But what you will discover when you buy a multi-pack, as this kind of is, if you get a multi-pack of wall anchors, then I don't know if you can see that, but right in the center they include 2 drill bits along with this so that you can have the right size drill bit, and that was just included. Again, you're going to need for your drill some kind of a bit with, I have a number 2 bit in here and a bit holder that's going to fit into the end of the drill, or you're going to need to use a number 2 Phillips screwdriver. It's a good idea also to have safety goggles while you're working with anything along the lines of this. I have gotten something in my eye before, and that required a trip to the emergency room, which is not fun or cheap. Now, the final tool that you might want to consider for this installation is going to be some kind of a mallet. You could use a hammer, and what you're going to run into is once you pre-drill the hole for the wall anchor, then the mallet is going to be useful to kind of tap the wall anchor into place before we screw the screw in and secure the corner brace. I'll bring the camera forward just a little bit so you can see a little bit better. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'll just kind of fan the stud finder across the wall, and in some cases, you know, here we have a stud, right? So there's a stud right there. We don't expect really to find any other stud, so I see a stud right here in the middle. You could use that stud to secure your corner brace. So you wouldn't use any kind of a wall anchor if you found a stud. You could just sink a screw directly in there. But what I'm going to do, because of the location of this, is I'm actually going to use 2 corner braces. I'm going to put 1 corner brace on either side, and I'm going to show you how to do that with the wall anchors. So one other thing that you might need, which I neglected to mention, is going to be just a pencil, and I'm going to use that just to mark the position of the screw holes. You can see the white of the wall against these. All I'm going to do is I'm going to take the pencil and I'm going to fill in where the circle is. So all I've done here is taken the pencil and filled in onto the wall to where you can see where the holes are. So one of the things you're going to want to ascertain is what size drill bit you're going to use. Now this package actually comes with 2 different drill bits. There's two different drill bits. One is slightly larger than the other. When you look, I have a package basically of wall anchors, and the wall anchors on the right are slightly smaller than the wall anchors on the left. Now, the size of the wall anchor is going to be an indication of how much weight the wall anchor can support. Generally speaking, you're going to want to select a wall anchor that is going to be appropriate for the application. So if you're going to hang a particular shelf or a particular frame or whatever you're hanging, you would want to know what the weight of that is so that you select the appropriate wall anchor. In this case, since we're going to be trying to help to ensure that this piece of furniture does not move forward, in theory, we would want to factor in the weight of the individual that we're trying to prevent from pulling it over, because their weight would be a factor. If they started to tug on this, it would be a factor in terms of the wall anchor. But for purposes of this installation, I'm just going to select two of the wall anchors. When you buy your package of wall anchors, it should tell you what the weight is for each of the wall anchors. Now, this is an older package and I no longer have that information, so I apologize. I'll try and locate an example of it and put it onto the screen. But for purposes of this, I'm just going to install two of these, and I'm going to make them be different sizes just to show you how this can be done. Now, one of the first things you're going to want to make sure of is that the wall anchor that you select, each of the wall anchors has a particular size screw associated with it. Now, the first thing you're going to want to do once you've selected a wall anchor is to ensure that that wall anchor, the screw that goes with it, actually goes through the hole in the corner brace. So what I mean by that is the largest wall anchor that I have has a screw that is fairly significant in size. And if you look at the hole on the corner brace, you'll find that this screw does not go into it. We could drill a larger opening in this if we actually needed the larger wall anchor because it has a weight capacity that maybe matches the application better. But I'm not going to do that in this case. I'm simply going to step it down to the next largest wall anchor. So the next largest wall anchor has a screw of this size, and if I hold the corner brace up to the screw of this size, I see that the screw easily passes through the hole, so I'm going to use that particular wall anchor for this purpose. Now, because I am using one of the two larger wall anchors, I have selected one of the two larger drill bits. And what I'm going to basically do is position my drill against making sure I have it in the forward position. I'm going to position my drill against one of the holes that I marked previously. Once you have it set, you can go ahead and drill the hole. Drill the first hole, and I'm going to drill the second hole similarly. Once the holes have been drilled, I'm going to make sure that the corner brace fits against the holes. And it does. So the next step is to take the two wall anchors for each of the holes, one for each of the holes that we just drilled, and I'm going to insert the wall anchor into the hole that we just made. Now, you'll see that the wall anchor protrudes part of the way into the hole. If you had enough force, you could press it in with your hand, but I'm going to use the mallet. A couple of taps with the mallet, and the wall anchor slides into place, and I'm going to do the same thing with the second wall anchor. Once the wall anchor is in place, we can actually permanently attach the first corner brace. So when we do that, we're going to swap the drill bit for the bit holding the number 2 drill bit. Take the first screw, position it over the correct hole in the corner brace, and screw it into position. I'm not going to tighten it all the way just yet. Similarly, I'm going to take the second screw and do the same thing. Now I'm going to move to the other side where I'm going to install the second corner brace using a similar procedure. Position the corner brace where I want it, and once again, I'm going to mark the holes and pre-drill my opening. Now, of course, I could have measured the exact amount of space that I wanted the corner brace to make it even on both sides, and if you want to go that extra step and do it, you can. For aesthetic purposes, most of the time the shelves, at least in my applications, were so high up, and in other cases we had things on the uppermost portion of the bookshelf to where the corner braces weren't visible in any case. But if you want to go that extra step, you certainly can. Now, in this case, just for illustration purposes, I'm actually going to install a second size wall anchor. I'm going to install a slightly smaller one. Once again, I just drill the holes after I mark them. Now, since I'm using one of the smaller wall anchors in this case, one of these, they'll be associated with the smaller screw. Now, once again, you don't necessarily, and you may not even be advised to use two different size wall anchors. I'm just doing it to illustrate more options that you have. The next step again is to simply press the wall anchor into place. Now, you see I was able to do that wall anchor without using the mallet. Similarly for the second wall anchor, then we position the corner brace in place. Once again, put our number 2 drill bit into the drill, get our screw. And one thing you can do before you put the second screw in, of course, is you can actually start the screw here, and it can help to guide you into the hole. Now I'm not going to tighten it down again all the way. I'm going to start the second screw. Now at this point, I'm going to cheat just a little bit, and here's what I mean. When you purchase your wall anchors, you are going to get the screws that you need to fit with those wall anchors. So I didn't have to do any digging. But when it comes to actually securing the corner brace to the top of the bookshelf, which is the next step, you're on your own because you're not going to have a preset screw that's going to come with the wall anchor for that purpose. Essentially, just what you need to do is you need to find a screw that, when it is screwed into place, is not going to bust through the bottom. Now you can see that this screw is fairly long and it pokes through. Now when you have the corner brace, it is going to add a little bit of depth. So you're actually going to want to select a screw that with the corner brace won't poke all the way down, but this screw is still too long, if you can see that. So what I've got here is 4 screws, and these screws I obtained just from a junk drawer. So this is what I mean when I'm saying I'm gonna cheat a little bit. Now the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the screws that I'm using are what are called self-drilling screws, and I don't know if you can see that, but the screws that I'm using essentially have a tiny little, almost like a drill bit on the end of them. Now those are in contradistinction to a screw like this that has just a point. A screw like that is going to be self-tapping, and you can see that now if it's focused. But I'm going to use self-drilling screws, and the reason for that is it's going to be easier to get the hole started to secure the screw. But all you're going to want to do is go to the store, measure the amount of space, the amount of depth that you have to drill into, and just find a screw that is long enough that it's going to hold into the wood, but not so long that it's going to protrude into the bottom of the wood so that it comes out the bottom. So the screws that I've got essentially are these little ones right here. When I include the depth that is associated with this thing here, so it raises it up just a little bit, you can see that I'm fine in terms of depth. And then we're just going to screw it into this. Now I should point out one other thing, and that is when you're screwing it in, you kind of want to press against the bookshelf, press it against the wall so that the bookshelf is tight against the wall. Now once I have those screws tightened into the wood, I'm going to secure the wall anchor into the wall. Now I'm going to do the exact same thing on the other side. So you can see it a little better. I don't know if you can. Once the screws are in, I'm going to tighten. I'm going to secure the screws in the wall anchor a little bit tighter. Okay, now you can see the finished secured bookshelf. It has 2 corner braces on either side, 4 total wall anchors, and you can see now if I pull on the bookshelf, I mean it's not going to go anywhere. Now again, there's a difference between me giving a slight tug and a person falling against this thing. This is not a foolproof intervention. It's only designed to buy you time, to make it less likely that there's going to be a catastrophe in the event that you have to turn your attention away. So this is going to make the bookshelf more secure than it was before, but it is not going to be a foolproof intervention. Now, in further videos, I'm going to show you how to install the Guardian or the Defender door lock. We're going to get into refrigerator latches, oven latches. I'm going to do some stuff with the microwave. In previous videos, I've shown you how to install the stop power plug lock. We went into how to push in the little outlet covers. We installed the drawer lock. We installed the cabinet lock. I showed how to swap locks in a hall and bathroom door application, and I invite you to click the links in the description if you're interested in those videos. Otherwise, if you found something of use in this video, please like it. Please subscribe to the channel, click the notification bell to be alerted to new content when it becomes available. I thank you so much for being with me today, and I look forward to seeing you again in another video.